a quorum. We appreciate everyone joining here this afternoon, and we'll start with roll call, if you would, Angie.
All right. Sharon LeMay.
Here.
Craig Leiser. All right. Wade Johnson. No. Chris Dubose.
Here.
Lance Peterson.
Here.
Mike Merkins. I swear I saw.
He's here, but
Yes.
he's muted. Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Jim Burkholz is here. Jackie Anderson. No, I don't see her. Susan Morris. No. Okay. Jerry Shabak.
Here.
All right. John Falagi.
He is here.
He is here. Steve Hallen. No. Doug Odegaard.
Here.
Kevin Chapdelaine.
Here.
Janet Hegland.
Here.
Fran Miron.
Here.
Diane Blake.
Here.
And Ed Marchand. Not here. Okay.
This is Jackie Anderson.
Oh,
Just joined.
Jackie is here. Great.
By phone. I'm at a different location and I can only get you by phone today.
Oh, wonderful. Yep, I will rename your box so that people can tell who you are when you're speaking. Wonderful. Thank you.
Do we want to have staff go through and introduce themselves? Start out, Angie, and hopefully
Sure
everybody
thing.
will just kind of follow.
Sure thing. So Angie Hong, I coordinate the East Metro Water Resource Education Program, and I will pass it to, why don't I just have people popcorn up, but the next person I see that staff is Mike Eisensee.
Hello, everybody. Mike Eisensee, Administrator with the Carnelian Marine St. Croix Watershed District, and I'll pass it to Jay Riggs.
And I will speak for Jay because he was on a phone call in the background with a doctor. So he is manager of the Washington Conservation District, and instead we'll pass it maybe to Craig Mell.
Hi, everybody. Craig Mell, Chisago Sound Water Conservation District.
All right, the rest of the staff, do you all want to just kind of popcorn and yell out your name as the opportunity arises?
Hi, this is Maureen Hoffman with Washington County Public Health and Environment, and I'm going to pass it over to Mark.
Mark Riegel, I'm a planner with Washington County Public Health and Environment as well.
Hi, this is Becky Wozni from the Anoka Conservation District. I'm their wetland specialist.
This is Aiden Reed from Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed. I am our land management specialist here on behalf of Mike Kinney today.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Jay Riggs, District Manager of the Washington Conservation District.
Hi, this is Susanna Wilson-Witkowski with Chisago County.
Pico Bowser, nice to see everybody.
And if folks can mute when you're not the one speaking, we're getting a little bit of echo, it sounds like, from a few people.
Dan Fabian, Border Water and Soil Resources.
And I do notice it looks like Steve Hallen from the Policy Committee appears to be on the call now.
I am, Angie. It's
That's
so darn
wonderful.
nice out. I almost missed the alarm clock on my phone. I was on the other end of the farm. My gosh. Anyway, here I am. And Susan Morris is calling in also because I was on the phone with her. There she is. You see her?
I don't see her yet, but.
I'm here,
Oh, there
Susan.
she
Yeah,
is.
I don't look
Yes.
normal because I'm recovering from knee replacement surgery. So
Aw.
you're seeing me in my recuperating mode.
Well, I'm sorry about your knee.
Well, thanks. It's getting better, but it's just going to be a journey.
Yeah. All right. Who are we still missing from staff? I think Susanna. No, Susanna already went. We. This is too difficult of a memory game for me to play.
Sounds like we've got everybody anyway. So we've got a couple additions there to the policy committee. We appreciate you joining us. You should have received the minutes of our March 22nd meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? And if not, a motion to approve would be in order.
I like that motion, Jackie.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
This is Mike Mergens. I'll second.
Got a motion second to approve the meeting minutes of March 22nd as published. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Angie?
Yes, sirree. Sharon LeMay.
Aye.
Craig Gleiser is not here. Wade Johnson not here. Chris DuBose.
Aye.
Lance Peterson.
Aye.
Mike Mergens.
Aye.
Jim Burkholz.
Aye.
Jackie Anderson.
Aye.
Susan Morris.
Aye.
Jerry Shabak.
Aye.
John Flagey.
Aye.
Steve Helen.
Aye.
Doug Odegaard.
Aye.
Kevin Chapdelaine.
Aye.
Janet Hegland. I think Janet is here. Janet is here.
Yes.
correct?
She was muted.
Oh, okay. Was it
I'm
an
back.
aye? We're approving minutes.
Oh, all right. Are you asking for my eye?
Yes, I am asking for your aye.
Aye.
Okay, where are we at on the list? Fran Miron
Aye.
and Diane Blake.
Aye.
Okay, that is everybody.
Minutes are approved and we'll back up. We should have reviewed the agenda. Are there any additions to our agenda for this afternoon? And if not, I mean, we should have a motion to approve the agenda as well.
This is Jim. I move we approve the agenda as distributed.
And
Susan,
Chris DeVos will
second.
second it.
Okay, we've got a motion second to approve the agenda as distributed. Roll call, please.
All right, Sharon LeMay,
Aye.
Chris DuBose,
Aye.
Lance Peterson,
Aye.
Mike Mergens,
Aye.
Jim Burkholz,
Aye.
Jackie Anderson,
Aye.
Susan Morris,
Aye.
Jerry Shabak,
Aye.
John Flagey,
Aye.
Steve Helen,
Aye.
Doug Odegaard,
Aye.
Kevin Chapdelaine,
Aye.
Janet Hegland,
Aye.
Fran Miron,
Aye.
Diane Blake.
Aye.
And that-
Motion passes. Our agenda then is approved. And we'll move over. Craig, were you going to update us on our work plan?
Sure, Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I'll probably do both the update on the work plan, the financial update kind of at one time, if that's okay.
Fabulous.
Okay, this shouldn't take too long. As I look back at the March 22nd Policy Committee meeting minutes, I see we had just approved or I just had submitted the work plan to Bowser then. And so on 22nd, the work plan was submitted. On March 26th, Bowser did approve our work plan. And then on March 31st, Bowser signed the grant agreement, which was great to have that done before April 1st for tracking wise. So on March 31st, we received a signed grant agreement from Bowser. On March 30th, the day before, we actually held a training for all the steering committee members to attend, and most did attend. We had a grants compliance meeting led by Bowser Grants Compliance Specialist Linda Dene. Went over all the grants compliance work that the staff will be required to submit when requesting reimbursement. Then the next thing that happened, Mr. Chairman, in the committee, on April 13th, the Chisago CWC board did approve two contracts plus the approved the allocation to the Chisago SWC for the administrative tasks. Contract one was with the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District for administrative services. Contract number two was with the Washington Conservation District for activities 1 and 3, which are the host agents for the 2 staff people along with the administrative services. And then allocation there for Chisago SWC for administrative services. I think that is everything for right now. I did see in the minutes, we also did approve the framework, which was good to know because that was the work plan that was submitted in E-Link was part of that framework. So if there's any questions, I can go into those now. Otherwise, we can wait to go through each of the subcommittee stuff at that time on each activity.
Any questions at this time? Let's move into the subcommittee updates then, and if there are questions, we can follow up with that. We'll begin with Jay Riggs. Jay?
I am here.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I have 3 subcommittees to report on. Number 1 is the Ag Outreach Specialist. We've had 1 subcommittee meeting. Coming out of that conversation, we felt we did want to move down the path of having a full-time dedicated person to support that effort. What we have decided though is to pursue trying to get some cost estimates or have a conversation with the Extension Service to decide whether or not we want to hire that person internally or contract with the Extension Service to provide those services. I actually have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with the Extension, and we'll be getting more details on what they can and are willing to provide and what the cost would be, and I'll be bringing it back to the subcommittee after that. Any questions about subcommittee 1? Any of the other, sorry, Matt, yep.
Lance provided a lot of good input and I really appreciate it.
Yes, I want to recognize all the folks who are participating on those subcommittees. There's a lot of people spending a lot of time and their input was invaluable. So if there anybody who else was on that subcommittee would like to provide additional details, that now is your chance. Okay, so moving on to subcommittee number 3, the Education Outreach Specialist. We had 63 applications for the position, which is a combined 50% East Metro Water Resource Education position for Washington County and 50% for the Lower St. Croix 1 Watershed 1 Plan education. Out of those 63 candidates, we interviewed 8. And I want to thank Janet and Jackie for both participating on that interview panel. It was a really good process. We had great feedback from the committee, really thoughtful, and I think we were able to identify the number 1 candidate and a great fit for the organization. In fact, we have her here today.
She is here. This is a grand debut.
And so I would like to introduce you all, drum roll, Angie, to Barbara Heitkamp, our new education and outreach specialist for the Lower St. Croix 1 Watershed 1 Plan.
You make it sound so incredibly just exciting, but I'm really excited to start meeting with you all and working with Angie. It's going to be a steep learning curve, but I'm dedicated to the cause and really excited to get started.
So Barbara, give us a little bit of highlights about your background and where you live and what your favorite hobbies are too, because that plays into this.
I'll just run down the entire autobiography. No, I'm kidding. So I live in Bayport, and for the past 10 years, I've worked at the University of Minnesota at the St. Anthony Falls Laboratory. I'm a trained geologist, hydrologist, but about 5 years ago, my career started taking more of a bend to science communication and outreach. And I took over as the lab's communication specialist in 2015. So I have a passion for science, but also very much a passion about how to message science, and just figuring out ways to try to get people to really engage and take pride in learning new things and being able to try different things. So being able to apply for this position really just kind of felt like a really good next career move. And I'm excited to work in the watershed in which I live. And I have a husband who works for an airline, and I have 2 children, 2 daughters. One of them is 7, the other is 4. And so excited to just be able to have them see their mom working in the watershed and working with you all to help promote more sustainable water resources, take pride in water.
Excellent. Thank you, Barbara. And your first day is?
Wednesday.
My first day
right
is
now?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
right now
but our
I'm
first
sitting,
day, a full-time day is
well,
starting on Wednesday.
correct. I'm sitting in my husband's truck at Jay Cook State Park right now. So still connected somehow.
Yeah, I'm
Excellent.
impressed
Thank you,
that you
Barbara.
have enough reception there.
I am too. I was gonna drive into town if needed, but here I am.
Excellent. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Will do.
Yeah.
Very good. And I have any questions or comments about Subcommittee 3? Jackie, Janet, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to say that with 61 resumes, coming down to one person was a challenge. But Jay and Andy did a really good job of going through and providing us, I forget how many, 23 things. And I just want to compliment Jay for setting up such a nice, and Angie, because it did go really smoothly, and I think we got the best person, and we had some really good people that were in the pool.
I'm so
I guess
excited.
the last thing,
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
yeah. I think the last thing too that I wanted to just tell the committee is that almost every single person that we talked to complimented the East Metro education program and Angie for the job that she's been doing. So I thought that was really a testament to the acceptance of that program and how much respect it has.
Thank you, Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Janet, so thank you. I'll just keep going then. Subcommittee number 3 is the prioritization subcommittee, and that group is meeting for its first time coming up this week. And so I'll have another report on that one at the next policy committee.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, sir.
Either Craig or Mike, are you going to update us on the urban and ag projects?
Yeah, I'll take a run at that. And so Craig and I have combined our committees in this initial phase, and that is for activity 2, 4, and 5 in our work plan, which are the urban and ag structural BMPs, as well as the urban and ag non-structural BMPs. So our allocation for 2021 through 2023 for structural best management practices is $360,000. So the subcommittee made an initial decision to work to allocate the first half this year, and then give others an opportunity to get more projects together over this year, and then allocate the second half of those funds next year. We have a 2-step process in place right now. First, per our work plan, we need to establish cost share incentive rates and policies. And so the subcommittee has an initial draft of those, and those are going to be presented to the steering committee at our upcoming meeting tomorrow or Wednesday. And then once we have the steering committee's approval on the rates and policies and determination that they meet the guidelines within our watershed plan, then we can start working on the second step, which is the initial project selection for 2021. We did send out a request for potential projects that are shovel ready for 2021, and we received 2 that seem like they're ready to go. First one is in South Washington Watershed District, and it's a large ravine stabilization project directly to the St. Croix River. The total cost for the project is estimated at $243,000, and they're requesting $175,000 up to $175,000 cost share from One Watershed, One Plan. The second one is from the Carnelia Marine St. Croix Watershed District, and that is an ag wetland restoration project going to Goose Lake, which is impaired for phosphorus, and the total estimated construction cost for that is $58,000. And the total request for that project from Lower St. Croix One Watershed One Plan is $20,000. So those are the two that are currently on the docket for consideration. They've been drafted by both organizations and sent in, and so we're going to be basically the next step we're going to be going through is scoring those projects after we have our cost share policies in place. And then those scoring recommendations go to the steering committee for review and consideration. And then those recommendations, the steering committee makes recommendations to the fiscal agent on the projects to award. Just a note that our total load reduction for our structural best management practices is for 2021 through 2023 is 500 pounds of phosphorus per year. When that number was initially set, the draft budget was a little over $1 million. So we really only have about 30% of our budget. But these two projects combined, well, especially the Ravine project, are going to get us close to halfway to our load reduction goal with only 30% of the budget allocated in these first 2 years. So I'm pretty excited about that and think that we're heading in the right direction. This first year is always the most difficult because there's first couple of years because we have a lot of prioritization work to get done. And so we're really focusing a lot of our funding on getting that prioritization work done so that we have a lot of projects to choose from in future years. So that's the update for the structural, and then for the non-structural BMPs, we have $200,000 allocated for 2021 to 2023, and there's really two primary components that we're kind of on hold for. The first one is that the targeting and analysis group will be looking at criteria for targeted street sweeping in our high priority listed cities within our plan. Likely putting together either a request for proposals or guidance on what that analysis will look like, and then those projects will be coming forward in the future, probably in 2022, for funding for from Lower St. Croix One Watershed One Plan. And then the second component is really ag non-structural BMPs, and that really is dependent on the work for Subcommittee 1. Getting our agronomist on board and getting some landowners and plans moving forward for those practices. So with that, did anybody from the subcommittees have anything to add, or does anyone have any questions?
Not hearing any. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Angie, anything to add on the education side? I know Jay kind of covered it, but anything to add there?
That is really the big update that Barbara is beginning on Wednesday, and I think you will see a flurry of activity once that happens, that we will be reaching out to especially the northern partners to kind of do some tours of the area, get to know the region better, talk about what education priorities are. Yeah, I think that's probably all I have to say right now.
Angie, what are you going to do with help?
What am I going to do with help? We're going to take over the world. There will no longer be dirty water. I might be building it up to, there probably will still be dirty water. We're going to try to take over the world.
I don't think I risked too much here by extending congratulations to Barbara on behalf of the policy committee. We appreciate having you on board, and I hope Angie is right in her assessment of the goals that you have here coming up. But welcome on board. We're excited to have you. We'll move down to wetland restoration. Becky, were you going to cover some of that?
Yes, yeah. So trying to get the subcommittee together, I was hoping to have it put together before this meeting. Unfortunately, I had some trouble with my doodle polls, and so we're gonna probably meet next week. So we're getting that narrowed down. So at that point, I'll have more to share, but we'll be getting together and starting to go through our prioritization. and how we want to look at, as they come in, and hopefully get for the next meeting, have some answers for everyone.
Good, thank you. And then I think the final subcommittee report is an internal analysis. Susanna, were you going to cover that?
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
We can, very well.
Okay, great. I'm actually at a track and field meet. and I'm far enough away, I think, so you won't be able to hear, but I'm able to hear great in the meeting. Technology is wonderful to be able to do all of our work. But I do have an update for activity 7, that's the internal loading of phosphorus analysis. And our subcommittee met on April 26th. And at that meeting, we had brainstormed some ideas to include as selection criteria to prioritize or select lakes for the internal loading analyses. And we came up with a dozen or so ideas, and some of those include that the lake selected must have a TMDL or RAPS to identify waste load allocation in the watershed, comparing to internal load contribution, and also the need to have external phosphorus loading resolved to be considered higher priority lakes. Determining how to quantify external loading and looking at some previous efforts on that. Determining if there are any high potential contributing wetlands and watershed external issues in the list of lakes that would be applying for these funds. Consider diagnostic monitoring, see what the impact is to external loading. And then also considering some other issues, including carp and what their effects are on internal loading, wake boat disturbance. So these kind of our brainstorm ideas, also including the updated Bowser feasibility study requirements. There's a number of requirements for that. And eventually, the goal then is to develop a 1 to 2 page application form along with consultant criteria, and to have these draft forms ready by our next meeting for the subcommittee, which is on June 3rd. And then we'll have those draft forms ready to submit requests for quotes by late summer or fall to receive our proposals, and then hopefully be able to recommend proposals to the steering committee, and then onto the policy committee in winter in order to have completed projects in 2022 or 2023. So if anyone from the subcommittee would like to add anything more, or if there are any other questions, I just have a brief update today.
Any questions for Susanna beyond the score of the game there?
Yeah, Jerry Shabak has a question. Which track meet are you at? Because I'm supposed to be working one in Cambridge right now.
Right, it's the middle school track meet. It's at the Cambridge High School.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be standing on the finish line running that right now. Sorry.
Oh. Well, I'm here in your place then.
We're hearing some noise in the background there. That's great. So
yeah,
thank you, Susanna. Doesn't sound like there's any questions, but we certainly appreciate all of the work the subcommittees are doing. It sounds like everybody's been extremely busy pulling things together. So we appreciate the continued effort there. Any broad-based questions there on the subcommittee reports?
This is Jackie Anderson.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. On the coordination, under the first bullet point, about halfway down, it says partners may use local funding to perform effectiveness monitoring to demonstrate actual outcomes achieved by projects. Otherwise, modeled loads will be reported. So are we going to be working off of target a project, and then we're going to loading effectiveness?
You're cutting out a little bit there, Jackie. So I didn't get the gist of your question.
Okay. On activity 10, halfway through the first bullet point, It says partners may use local funding to perform effectiveness monitoring to demonstrate actual outcomes achieved by projects. Otherwise, modeled loads will be reported. And so my question is, we're using modeling to target projects, and we're going to be reporting outcomes by modeled information instead of actual data. Is that correct?
I guess I would defer that question. Jay, are you've kind of covered some of the targeted analysis. Do you care to comment on that at all, or is there a better person to address that?
Thank
Jay
you,
can
Fran.
handle it.
What was that, Matt?
Jay can handle it.
There are a number of people here who can answer that question, but I think the issue is that the watershed-based funding can't be used, as Jackie knows, can't be used for monitoring work. And so we are, in a lot of these cases, going to be using modeling to track the performance of the practices that are installed. So I think the answer to the question is yes.
Okay, and the reason is because of funding.
Yes.
Okay.
And cost too.
Well, I think that should be made clear, though, be made clear. It's a really important aspect, at least for our district, to make sure that we're dealing with accurate numbers.
Yeah, and I would
So
maybe
that's-
just note too, in this round, we have the ravine stabilization project is based on modeling because we have good calibrated models for that type of pollutant loading. The wetland restoration is based on outflow monitoring of the wetland for a full season to Goose Lake, and that's how the load reduction was identified. Last year, it contributed 28 pounds for the year to a lake that has an impairment, which only has a 70-pound load reduction. So it's a significant load to the lake. So, so in this circumstance, the wetland is monitored, but yeah, the ravine will only be modeled.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, there was one other area that Mike asked me to pass along his comment, and that's on the BMPs for ag. And he's very concerned about making sure that if we're doing 100% activity for a farm, that they have a goal that they have to reach. His goal, as we brought up in the past, is T, make sure that they're working toward this T goal that's established for the farm. And so I just like that on the record.
Sounds good. I mean, our minutes are always very detailed, so we'll make sure that, you know, if the point is to make sure it's in the record, it's there. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Any other questions?
Fran, this is Matt, if I may. Jim Burkholz, do you have any comment on that? Meeting T?
On meeting T?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm just gonna jump in and venture a guess that we're gonna be doing some projects and working with some landowners that have already achieved T. And yet there's some additional water quality work that needs to be done on their land, and that's gonna be the partnership we have with those landowners. T is a good reference point for setting a partial goal, but it's not the ultimate water quality goal. I guess we just need to keep that in mind. That I don't know. Is that any help at all, Matt?
I think the point is to make sure that there is a goal that is going to help resources so that everybody understands it.
Yeah, it definitely is help, Jim, and having been in the business for as long as you have, that's help.
Yeah, as long as we keep a good context of T is a goal that is applicable to all soils in all fields. And so it's something there that is worth attaining, but oftentimes, especially when we're looking at water quality impacts, we're doing things that are beyond T. And just so we all keep a healthy perspective that T is a good reference point to keep in mind, but it's not always ultimately what we're working towards. But on any individual farm, as at a minimum, we should keep that in mind as a goal. And beyond that, I would defer to people like Lance and that have some really good perspective on that too.
I was gonna ask Lance if he had some comment.
Go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, I mean the the T or the soil loss part of the equation. I would take a pretty good guess that a lot of acres in the watershed meet T, but not all of them maybe meet the phosphorus loading requirements. So that's probably the more important one for me as a farmer that we want to continue to improve upon. Unfortunately, yes, we are not able to measure or monitor with these funds. So we'll have to do our best to bring in kind of some of the, each agency or each district to share some information that allows us to get a starting point. But yeah, there's T is definitely a great component to have a starting spot. But if we keep continuing with the phosphorus side and also nitrate as well is going to be coming up more so.
Thank you, Lance. Thanks, Jim.
Any other questions? Again, we appreciate all the work these subcommittees are doing. Angie, are you going to talk a little bit about our progress updates?
I am only talking about it in so much as to let you know that at future meetings, Emily Hines will be providing a cumulative progress update. She wasn't able to attend today's meeting, so this is kind of a placeholder to let you know we're envisioning this as the typical format that our policy committee meetings might take in the future, where we'll have updates from the subcommittee. And then Emily will be on a quarterly basis looking at the cumulative progress towards our nutrient reduction goals, from all of these different subcommittee activities put together. Since we haven't actually done anything yet, we don't have any numbers to report to the group right now, though.
And so for the policy committee, this type of a format, does this work well for you as far as providing information you need to make some of the policy decisions that we're going to be faced with? Any comments on that? Or certainly we're open to any suggestions or changes in format here if there's something different that you feel would be appropriate. Not hearing anything, Angie. Why don't you go ahead and give your overview of other locally led projects?
Yeah, so I am going to try something out here for you all. I put together a little bit of a map, and I am not a GIS user. So this is a map using Google Maps interface. It's not quite as fancy as the interactive map that we have on the Lower St. Croix One Watershed, One Plan website. But what I did is try to visually show you all the projects that are happening through our state watershed-based implementation funds, as well as at a local level. So this is just the outline of the Lower St. Croix watershed. We can see the participating counties here. And a number of the counties have told us things that they are doing on their own toward this project, either on their own or that they are putting in additional funds or staff support to supplement work that's happening through the watershed-based implementation funds. So for example, Anoka Conservation District has a goal in the next 2 years of upgrading approximately 4 SSTS systems, completing 2 shoreline projects, doing carp management in Lidwood Island, Martin, and Typo lakes, maintaining observation wells, doing lake level monitoring, cooperative weed management program. I can send out the link to this map because it might become tedious if I read off the things that every single county is doing. But it is my best attempt to show what's happening at the county level in addition to things that are happening at the full basin scale. So what I think is kind of fun, when we were talking earlier about some of the kinds of things that we wanted to do with the watershed-based implementation funds. For example, Mike Eisensee mentioned that we would like to complete street sweeping studies. And so these are the locations of the cities that we have on the list to work with and complete a targeted street sweeping implementation plan if they are willing. So you can kind of, get an idea for what the geographical spread of that would look like. It's lots of small cities in, along the river and then along the Sunrise River up in Chisago County. In terms of the wetland restoration projects that we have potentially happening. For example, this is the one that Mike was talking about on Goose Lake, where it would be restoring a 0.4 acre wetland with a 51 acre agricultural drainage area going to Goose Lake. There is a wetland restoration project that is underway with Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District on Judicial Ditch 6. Over here, we've got ditch number 20 to the Sunrise River and Typo Lake. This is one that would be a joint project between Anoka and Isani counties and private landowner. And what is this last one up here? Checkerboard Park lets property on the Sunrise River. And I should mention that all of these, the group has not yet determined which projects will be the ones that we're able to move forward with funding. So this is kind of like, here are the 4 possible projects, and then the group will have to determine how much funding is available and which projects can be funded. So just kind of rolling on down then to ag and urban CIP projects. Mike Eisensee, when he was talking earlier, mentioned the one that is in South Washington watershed goes to Trout Brook, and then Trout Brook is the stream that flows through Afton State Park, if you're familiar with that state park. And then there are a couple of other projects on Big Carnelian, Big Marine, Downtown Marina, and St. Croix, and just north of that, that are on the list, probably not for this coming year, but 2022 or 2023. In terms of where those potential lakes are for internal analyses, they are kind of spread throughout the watershed. And then there are programmatic things as well. That's when we're talking about the agronomy outreach, the watershed education, the non-structural ag BMPs that are going to be happening across the entire basin. And I did want to remind the group that we also have a basin-wide conservation planner, Mary Jo Youngbauer, who has been working for 2 years now, I think, already completing conservation plans. So we don't have any of the watershed-based implementation funds going to her position right now, but she is working basin-wide for all of us in this area. Yeah, and then you can also turn on the layer for the watershed districts, and there are also a number of activities that are happening just at the watershed district scale as well. So for example, Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District has, 6, 7, 8 fairly large projects that are coming up in their area that they shared with the group. So I can send out a link for people to look at it, and you will just have to forgive me for the fact that I'm not a GIS person, and it won't be the most amazing, most perfect map. All of the stuff is kind of just to give you an idea of where things might be happening, so you have a visual picture. All right. Any
Angie,
questions?
just a clarification, our project this year goes straight to the St. Croix. It's,
So it's not going to Trout Brook? I must have misunderstood that then.
yeah, next year is Trout Brook. This year is straight to the St. Croix. It's 295 tons of sediment and 250 pounds of phosphorus. And I'm looking for it on Google Maps because you can actually see it, but I can't find it right now.
You said 295 tons of sediment. What was the phosphorus?
295 tons of sediment and 250 pounds of phosphorus. This is what we've estimated a year.
So are there any questions from policy committee members about projects that are happening collectively, either through the watershed-based implementation funds or through just our existing partnerships of what we've done together for years?
Not hearing any.
Mr.
Angie,
Chair,
but,
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Steve Holland. I just, there's two watersheds that are quite large that flow into the St. Croix, just above the lower St. Croix. So I've forever had my head scratcher going, we need to pay attention to the Snake River and the Kettle River because their impact as far as Pine County is concerned is larger than the part of Pine County that flows into the lower St. Croix. So I hope that staff, as those organizations come online, Snake River will be rather quick, but St. Croix will take a little while. But there are some projects right now I wish we could do a joint venture on along the Snake River that we could save some pristine half a mile both sides of the river that's up for sale that I wish we could leave it in forested land, but that would be a great project that would save tons of sediment. But it's not in the lower St. Croix watershed.
Mr. Chair, this is Matt.
Go ahead, Matt.
That's a great comment. And Jay, help me out here because it's in the TMDL, right?
Yes, it is in the TMDL, and both the Snake and the Kettle are significant contributors. Let's please not mention how we're gonna fix Wisconsin.
I won't go there, but I know
Thank you, Steve.
do have some influence on this side of the river. So
yeah, the other piece I want to note that Barb noted in the chat was that the Snake River watershed is working on their comprehensive watershed management plan right now. And One Watershed, One plans are planned to be completed statewide at some point.
And Jay, Matt, again, we lost all of our partners in Wisconsin, correct?
There's a lot of them are still there. I mean, we have a lot of folks working in Pierce County, and there's a lot of areas that are still doing some good work. But the two leaders that we had from the Wisconsin DNR retired, and so the basin team that was very active to help coordinate on that larger scale is no longer active. And so if we're talking about the Wisconsin side, then we're coordinating more with the St. Croix River Association now.
Who just renamed itself? Did you all see that? They just renamed themselves to the Wild Rivers Conservancy of the St. Croix and Namakagon. They just made an announcement like 3 days ago. It was news to me that that was coming.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Namakagon's a great river.
It is, it's gorgeous.
So Steve, maybe to get back to, and Angie, I don't know, well, first of all, these locally led projects are exciting to hear. And I think, you know, as we look at our next item on the agenda, as far as topics for future meetings, Steve, maybe, you know, reports on some of those things that are going on, particularly as they develop their comprehensive plan and that type of thing, maybe good topics for us to get at least some basic information on. So I think that maybe will add to some discussion in the future. And I appreciate you raising, you know, that issue. You're on mute, Steve.
We did just appoint a county commissioner that will sit on the formation of the Kettle River, one watershed, one plan, and the Snake River one watershed, one plan has been living under a joint powers agreement for several years. So I think that'll be a fairly easy transition for them.
And so with respect to topics for future meetings, are there other things that people would like to see? You know, or we talked earlier, I mentioned earlier about the format for the meetings. Is this a good format? Do you want something added, something different? Do you have any specific topics that you'd like to have covered?
And if I could, I had two specific questions related to format for the meeting. I guess three actually. So one is, I'm wondering if and for how long this group would like to continue meeting virtually versus in person. So that be a topic of conversation. Secondly, how often the group wants to meet. I know we had talked about the policy committee kind of gradually as we moved into implementation, maybe meeting only quarterly instead of monthly, and wondering how you feel about that and how informed you want to be. And then just kind of on that topic of how informed you want to be and how engaged in the decision-making, with it right now being a joint powers collaboration instead of agreement, that kind of takes a lot of the decision-making away from the policy committee. And, you know, you're basically just approving the annual plan and then not having involvement in the approval of, you know, projects and things like that that are happening throughout the year once the overall annual plan is approved. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there for the group to remember and ruminate on if you are still feeling good with that direction, you know, as we're moving forward.
Fran, did you hear that?
What was that?
She said ruminate.
Ruminate.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, from an education expert. That's good. That's good. So you mentioned about our virtual meetings and how long we want to continue with that. You talked about how often. What was your third issue, Angie?
Just how people are, how the group is feeling about you know, how engaged you want to be in the decision making on, you know, at the actual project level versus just approving the annual plan at the beginning of the year and then having the remaining decisions be made on a steering committee level from then on.
So comments on our first question with respect to meeting in person or virtually, or maybe some option for a hybrid. You know, maybe some discussion there. What are your thoughts?
Chris DeBose, I would prefer in-person meetings personally.
This is Janet. I would second that. But I do like the idea of the hybrid because that allows people to meet with us who might not be able to because of travel or other kinds of things. So I would say hybrid would be a good choice.
I would vote for at least hybrid. I would not have been able to make it today if it was totally in person.
Yeah,
Other comments?
Susan. Whoops.
Go ahead, Susan.
Oh, sorry, thank you. So I'd be the same. I mean, I prefer the in-person, but today, it would have been impossible for me to be in person, but I can sit in my recliner and be a part of a meeting. So it's nice to have the virtual as an option.
This is Kevin Chapdelaine. Fran, I agree. I'm 40 miles away from our normal meeting spot, and sometimes I like to run up there and see everybody, but there are times when it's really convenient to do this as well. So I think hybrid at the minimum might be the best compromise. Just my 2 cents.
Anyone else care to weigh in?
Jackie Anderson. Hi.
Go ahead, Jack. You cut out a little bit there.
Would be my vote.
Repeat that.
Hybrid.
Oh, hybrid.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Jerry, John, Jim, we haven't heard from the Jays.
This is Jim Burkholz. I agree. Hybrid is a nice way if we can keep doing that. Encourage in-person meetings because there's just obviously some extra communication that happens there of a higher quality. But if we can use technology to keep everybody plugged in to every meeting we do, that's certainly a benefit of doing it that way. So I would agree with the thread of this discussion.
Yes, and so do I. I agree with that. Hybrid is, a better option. We travel off and on, so with a hybrid, I can show up at a meeting 100, 1,000 miles away from here. It doesn't matter.
And I would agree with everybody that the hybrid is probably the way to go. My guess or my problem would be, Angie, would you be able to handle both the meeting and the computer as far as people getting together? I see that as being a problem with the hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I'm going to have to research and figure out how to do that. I know that there are some city halls that have set up for that. For example, we were talking with the Scandia city administrator recently, and he said that they have their city hall set up to be able to do hybrid so that they can have an in-person city council meeting and people can still, call in virtually. So I don't actually know how to do it yet, but I am also somewhat inclined to suggest, well, if we're doing in person, maybe we try to find a location that is already set up for that we could just meet in their space and use their already set up technology, as opposed to having to try to, set up the technology ourselves.
Well, then the problem with that would be is, yes, if we have to purchase the technology or whatever it is, that would be the problem too. So
yeah,
that's the only thing with hybrid that I can see. I mean, I agree. I think hybrid is the way to go. I think it's the most convenient for everybody. I think that's the way to go. It's just how do we get there?
Yep. And I don't know enough yet to answer that question. Switching over to Zoom was relatively easy, and it's only $15 a month for the Zoom subscription. So that wasn't a big monetary investment. But if we're having, a big screen and I just don't know enough about it to know what all is entailed.
Well, and then also too, would we need another person besides you to manage the screen? I mean, because obviously it's hard to do both at the same time. You're doing a great job, by the way, with what you're doing, but I'm just saying we might need another person to handle something else of the meeting then.
Sounds good.
Fran, may I add something, please?
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Washington Conservation District is likely going to be starting hybrid meetings up soon, and we do actually have purchased a wide angle double microphone USB camera for allowing us to do hybrid meetings. And so we're going to be experimenting with that and see what works and what doesn't. And I also appreciate the questioning how many people it's going to take to person the meeting when we're doing the combination, but we oftentimes have staff involved with the meetings anyway. And so I'm confident we can recruit resources that we have here, to provide support to Angie so she's not trying to do too many things all at once. So we'll try to figure this out.
Jay, would that be
that camera is not a mobile unit though? That's something that you'll have set up in your own facility there, correct?
Exactly. So it would allow the people who are participating remotely to see the whole group that's in the meeting room.
Yeah. So
Chisago County also has that capability too, if you ever want to use it.
This is Jackie Anderson. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay, I just wanted to suggest that we check with Forest Lake City. They have a pretty sophisticated operation, and that's where we hold our normal board meetings when it's not COVID season. So that might be an opportunity for us to at least get started with the hybrid type meetings.
Sounds good. So it sounds like we've got a little research ahead, but I think it's fair to say that there's a preference for at least allowing some virtual meetings with a focus really on in-person meetings, but allowing individuals to, to participate virtually if they choose. So we just need to find the right location that has the technology, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, this is Matt.
Go ahead, Matt.
So our office is in the city of Woodbury, so we're following their protocol. And I don't know if Chris or Craig or Jay have any other comments, but we're kind of watching those executive orders, because the executive orders, if they expire, then we're no longer able to meet virtually. From a watershed district standpoint, we're not able to. So it's just something to think about, just as we go forward.
So I think that, go ahead, Steve.
Well, we have met, the meeting notice under the open meeting law, you have to follow the meeting notices. And so we can't, you have to say where you're going to be 3 days prior to when you're going to be there. But we have worked with that for a number of years at our county. So it doesn't preclude you from doing hybrid or virtual meetings. It's just
Correct.
a little different.
Yep, and correct. And friend, you guys are doing it at Washington County, right?
We are, and but I think what you're suggesting, Matt, is probably critical to the discussion here too. And certainly we've had attorneys from the various counties and watersheds weigh in on our authority here and the regulations that we need to follow. And that may be another issue that from a staff perspective between now and the next meeting that we probably need to get some answers to, as to how that will affect us as an organization. So that probably is a task that we need to take a look at here between meetings.
Jay, it sounds like you and I are on that.
But I can tell you, Matt, we're not going to Woodbury for the meetings. We're gonna do them in the north area, because I don't expect Susan Morris to drive to Woodbury and some of our other northern people. I think we had a good location there, and at the Wyoming Library. I don't know what their technology availability is there, but I think somewhere in that vicinity, Forest Lake, I think would be fine. It's only 3 miles away. Something like that would certainly work well, I think, for this group.
Friend, I live in Oakdale and I don't drive to Woodbury.
They're good.
Except to go to the office.
So then,
Fran, I
the
go
other
to the
question,
doctor in Woodbury quite often, so it's not like going to Miami,
The other question Angie was asking us to respond to is how often we would like to meet. What do we have, Angie? Do we actually have a date set for a future meeting for this group right now?
So what we have right now is a standing monthly meeting on the calendar that just shows up on the 4th Monday of every month. And therefore, our next meeting would be on that Monday, June 28th. And what we have been doing so far is just canceling the meetings if we don't have business that needs to be conducted, but just keeping it on there as a reoccurring monthly appointment so that people have it blocked off on their calendars if we need to. And, we might still be early enough in the process that we should continue doing that, but I'm just wondering, at one point in time, do people maybe want to officially segue towards only meeting quarterly and not, not having to every month say, are we gonna have a meeting this month? Are we gonna have a meeting this month? Just scheduling it for quarterly and leaving it at
How
that.
about every other month for now?
That's an option too.
Other comments?
Quarterly is fine with me, but I can do every other month.
Well,
So if we were going to meet, if we're not going to meet in June, let's just say that we were going to go to an every other month, then we'd probably be looking at the 26th of July.
Just knowing that summers are short and very valuable for those of us who live here in Minnesota. If generally business in these type of situations is a little light during the summer anyways, how about if we just take the summer off and then meet in the end of August?
So that would
August
be
30th. That would be August 30th.
It depends on if we're doing the last Monday or the fourth Monday, and we always have this, if it's the fourth Monday, it would actually be August 23rd.
Correct.
This is Jackie Anderson.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Can we just move through everybody on the call so that we can get everyone's input? I think that's the most fair way to do it.
Okay, why don't Angie just go through kind of a roll call and get a preference for our next meeting.
Sure. Okay. Sharon, what do you think?
I think less is better unless we actually have something important to talk about.
Okay. How about, let's see, Chris already suggested every other month. Lance, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd be fine with every other month.
Okay, how about Mike? Morgans.
Yeah, I'm open to either quarterly or every other month. I'm, pretty flexible.
Who haven't we heard from them yet? Let's see, Jim, Jackie, Susan, Jerry.
I would go with, oops, I'm still muted.
No, you're not.
No, there we go. Okay, no, I would go with every other month, but quarterly I could live with.
Okay, how about John?
I'd go every other month too. I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay. Steve, did we hear from you yet?
I'd vote for quarterly, but I'll live with every other month.
Okay, how about Doug?
Yeah, I'm thinking probably every other month and then move into quarterly. So perhaps do July and then go quarterly after that.
Okay.
Jim Burkholz.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having the dates on the calendar. It's easy to cancel a meeting. If we operate under the premise that it takes an awfully good meeting to beat no meeting at all. I like having the date in the calendar and just say we're scheduled to meet monthly, but we'll probably cancel at least half of those days. But at least we have people that are going to be available if something does come up. And this is our first year through implementation, and maybe that's good just to keep that on the calendar, but I'll agree that we'll definitely not meet that frequently and expect to see meeting cancellations, but at least they're in the calendar.
This is Jackie Anderson again.
Yeah.
I did not give my input, but everything Jim just said was what I was going to say. I agree that this is the first year of operation of this collaboration. And I think it's important that if we have to meet, that we've got that date reserved, just as he said, and we can pull that meeting together quickly. But as it moves along, you know, we've got a decision to make about the style of operation that we want to go forward with. So not having the information on a continuous basis, I think would be hard for policy committee to make a decision about how to structure it going forward. And we also have a responsibility to report back to our organizations, and it's information. I agree with you. The and canceling it with you.
Okay, Kevin.
Quarterly is fine with me.
Okay. How about Janet?
I actually am fine with quarterly as well. I mean, unless there's a reason to meet, I prefer not to meet just for the sake of meeting. And I also prefer not to have it on my calendar if half of them are going to be canceled. They're fine if we think we'll meet most of the time, but if we really think that half of them will be canceled, that's a little difficult for me.
Fran.
Yeah, I think monthly meetings are way more meetings, I think, than what we need. I certainly would look at least at a minimum every other month. I would be fine with quarterly. I think that provides us ample opportunity to do the business that we're going to have before us. Just reminding everybody that, you know, we set the budget and the policy and allow, you know, the groups to work within that framework. But, you know, I'm fine with every other month.
Okay, Diane, I think you're the last one to speak.
I was thinking every other month, just in the beginning here, just to get, you know, started and get a good grip on what's going on. And then maybe moving into quarterly in the fall.
Okay.
Angie, I don't know if you've been keeping toll, but that seems to be the momentum here right now.
To do every other until the fall, and then maybe come fall, we start moving toward quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, yeah, I mean, there's kind of a mix of every other month and quarterly, but yeah, but it does seem like quite a few people saying maybe continue every other month just for, you know, just for a couple more months to make sure we get this immediate business and launch the implementation part of the program.
With every other month, we'll only hit one more summer month until we're into fall anyway, so.
Right, Chris.
So then as long as we're talking that, looking at calendars and stuff, would that be the 19th of July then, or would that be the 26th?
I think that would be the 26th. Oh, yes, it would be the 26th of July. So
Okay.
if we're going with that every other month thing, then basically we would meet the 26th of July, and then we would meet again on the 27th of September, and then potentially push all the way through until December instead of having another one. And that will of course get tricky with the holidays.
And July 26th would actually be our third quarter, right? And our third meeting this year.
Yes.
So we'd be satisfying both groups, meeting every other month, plus meeting quarterly.
It is best if everybody is kept happy.
So then, and maybe this question should have been asked for, you know, or responded to first, but I mean, how engaged? Are we comfortable allowing subcommittees to do their work and come back and provide reports? Does this committee, you know, want to be more engaged, you know, than that? I know, we had a lot of discussion earlier about our structure and how we were going to be structured, and we certainly didn't want to bog down progress here either. So what are the thoughts on that?
This is Jim Burkholz. I say we let people go ahead and implement, and we'll see how it goes. And if communication and expectations are met, we'll know we're onto something. Let's just give it a try. I think we have good people and some good process going. We should see how it works out. And with the meeting schedule we talked about, there's ample opportunity for the policy committee to see how that goes and see what people's comfort level is. And that should be something we check off with at each meeting. I'm comfortable with it.
I share that perspective. Is there anyone that disagrees with that? I'm not hearing anybody, so we'll kind of go that route then.
May I, may
any
I
other
just say,
Go
ahead,
Mark.
thanks for your confidence.
That goes without saying, I think.
Fran, do we need to vote on that?
We can do that. Just to wrap up, any topics for future meetings? Besides, I know, Steve talked about, some of the things that are going on north of our area, but any other topics that you'd like to have covered? And we don't have to vet them now necessarily either, but if there are some topics or things that you're aware of that are going on, let Angie know about them, or or one of the other staff people, and we'll make sure that they get placed on the agenda so that we can have some broader discussion. Let's kind of leave it at that. Yeah, I think, and I mean, unless there's other business, we're kind of at the end of the meeting, and so maybe a motion for a fixed time to adjourn would be appropriate, and then that way we have the July 26th date set at I assume a 4 p.m. Meeting time, and we can cover our vote in the on the meeting time and date with a place to be determined, and then and an adjournment all in one roll call vote.
Do you, just a point of clarification, do you want to set July 26th and September 27th, just so people can plan that for the rest of the year on their calendars, or do you want to just set the July 26th right now?
What was the other date you gave us?
September 27th. And then potentially in December, I would recommend December 20th, because otherwise it's going to be that week between Christmas and New Year's.
September 27th, okay?
Yep.
Okay,
Why
so
wouldn't
motion
the meeting,
to, go ahead, Jackie.
why wouldn't the meeting be November 27th instead of December, every other month?
It was September. It was July 26th, September 27th, and then I recommended December 20th instead of December 27th.
I don't,
It'd be November then, not December. If it's September, October, November.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, sorry. Yes, that was because a number of people had said, let's meet every other month until the fall and then begin meeting quarterly. And so really that only gave us one extra meeting if we went with that plan. You guys are free to, you are free to modify that I just said and do July, September, November if you would rather do that instead.
When will we begin our budget process for next year? Or we got a biannual budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the budget is basically set for the next 2 years in terms of what's coming from the watershed-based implementation funds.
But you have to start working on that next biennial in the fall of this year.
Let's go with July and September if that's amenable to the group, and then when we meet either in July, we can have that discussion about a next meeting. that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of heads nod, so. So unless there's other business, a motion to set those 2 dates for meeting if you choose to. And then, and to adjourn at the same time, would be in order, I think.
Chris DeBose will make that motion.
Steve Holland
Okay.
will second it.
Got a motion and a second then to set our meeting dates for July 26th and September 27th at 4 PM at a place to be determined by staff based on what's available for technology. And that we adjourn today's meeting. Any discussion on that motion? Angie, would you call roll?
Yes, Sharon Lemaine,
Aye.
Chris DeBose,
Aye.
Lance Peterson,
Aye.
Mike Mergens,
Aye.
Jim Burkholz,
Aye.
Jackie Anderson,
Aye.
Susan Morris,
Aye.
Jerry Shabak,
Aye.
John Palagi,
Aye.
Steve Hallen,
Aye.
Doug Odegaard,
Aye.
Kevin Chapdelaine,
Aye.
Janet Hagland,
Aye.
Fran Miron,
Aye.
and Diane Blake.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. I think we had a good meeting and appreciated seeing everyone that was on Zoom and actually showed their face. We look forward to seeing you in July, the 26th.
Thanks.
Thank you
Fran.
much.
Thank you.
Great move. Thank
Right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.